Blizzard explain why Vendetta is not a tank. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the channel. I'm Stylosis. So, there is also a mental takeaway from all of this. Blizzard are also saying she is basically the ultimate dive DPS. Now, I know a lot of people out there are going to be like, oh no, this could be terrible. Because what you've got to think is, the balance for this hero, we're going to see some stuff here from PC Gamer and from The Gamer, where the devs are talking about the new hero. But like, Feast or Famine, she goes into the back line and she does an incredible amount of damage and destroys the back line instantly. That's going to be not great for the back line. But on the other hand, if she goes into the back line and doesn't do enough damage, then she's just going to kind of feel really bad, and then everyone's going to be like, can you get off Vendetta? Also, she'll probably just get banned anyway, because if this hero is going to be as mobile as the devs say, can you imagine like her just going straight into the backline and deleting your Ana? Now, maybe Ana is the counter to this, and maybe like a Cassidy with Flashbang or something can probably try and control her, but this seems crazy. This seems like a very hard... it's going to be really difficult for them to balance this. Anyway, let's break this down. So we've got some new screenshots of the hero. We've got the full ability kit. But before we get into that, I want to read off some stuff from the developers, because this is actually really interesting. So let's begin with PC Gamer. Overwatch 2's first melee damage hero was pushed forward in the release schedule, despite fans expecting a new tank. It's more about servicing that playstyle that we really didn't have in the roster. I saw a lot of very confident expectations that Hero 45 was going to be a tank based off a recent release pattern that we're now switching up a little bit, senior character artist Brian Bedford says. But I think one of the most important aspects of adding a new hero is honestly just coming up with something that's fun to play. Associate Game Director Alec Dawson remembers being asked about a melee DPS hero 3 years ago and says choosing Vendetta as the next hero was more about servicing that playstyle that we didn't really have in the roster. Once the team saw her early concepts, they had to make her. I think part of our mission at all times is to create things that we think will be really exciting for players, and that one was constantly asked about. So there's links to the articles in this video's description. The PC Gaming one is a little bit surface level. I think what's happened is Blizzard have basically just done a little sort of media roundtable and answered the same questions, or provided the same answers, and shoveled them out to a load of publications. Now, we're going to move on to The Gamer, because they've got more detail here, and I think this is actually a much better article. Vendetta wields the Palatine Fang, a massive greatsword designed around a 3-hit combo, 2 horizontal slashes, followed by an overhead strike that deals critical damage. A lot of times, what you're trying to do is get the 2 hits and then really line up that overhead to kind of finish off the kill, Dawson says. It's the kind of thing that will make you nod appreciatively at your own timing, or curse yourself when it whiffs. Now, that sounds really good. Like, the idea of being able to crit, now obviously this would be a crit anywhere, I would imagine. Obviously, you don't need to hit the crit area of whatever enemy you're fighting. Let's say like smack Reinhardt in the head. I think it's just going to crit regardless, because it would be a bit mental if that's the way it worked. But anyway, yeah, so 1 hit, 2 hit, then crit. 1 hit, 2 hit, crit. That's burst. I mean, you can see there might actually be ways of trying to time this so you're hitting them with a crit straight away for maybe that bit of burst damage. I don't know. Whether that works in terms of the kit and the ability rotation, I'm not sure. But that's a really cool sort of design thing there. So yeah, you can see this article's way better. Defensively, she's no sitting duck. Her abilities are built to make her not just powerful, but mobile. Whirlwind Dash propels her forward in a spinning AoE attack, while Soaring Slice lets you throw her sword into the air and leap towards it, crashing down with that critical overhead strike. You kind of launch yourself up, try to look for a target below you, and then land right on top of them from overhead, Dawson says. I think that is one of the best feelings in Overwatch. Her other abilities include Warding Stance, which allows her to block incoming projectiles while conserving a resource bar that can be used offensively. Her ultimate, Sundering Blade, which cleaves through armor and health with unstoppable momentum. Vendetta is a hero that can get a lot of different positions, or get into, I guess, a lot of different positions, Dawson says. She's pretty high skill, pretty hard to master, but in the right hands, she can be ferocious. Dawson describes her as high octane. She thrives in dive comps, leaping into the enemy backline to sow chaos, but without careful cooldown and positioning management, she can quickly be shut down. She's not flying around the entire time. Once she reaches the place, she's going to have to be there for just a moment. Certain abilities like strong CC from enemies, or a well-timed Discord orb can neutralize her if she overextends, which emphasizes that skillful play is, in fact, needed. Vendetta is designed for those who crave precision, timing, and a healthy dose of calculated mayhem. She's basically the ultimate dive hero, Bedford says. If you want to get into the back line and cause chaos, she's the character for you. Compared to Tracer, she's more strategic. Committing to a dive requires planning, but the payoff is immense. So I think we can see what the devs are going for here. High skill, feast or famine, insane burst damage at close point-blank range, but insane mobility to get you into that close point-blank range. She's going to be very difficult to balance, I think, but she's probably going to feel great to play because I'll tell you this, jumping on somebody as Winston feels fantastic. And if you're doing this as DPS, it's going to feel way better because you're actually going to do damage instead of tickling them with your Tesla cannon. So look at this, right? I think this is the first time Blizzard have done this. I can't recall seeing this. Now, I've kind of been not super tuned and super focused into Overwatch for a few months, I will admit that. But like, I don't think they've done this before. So they put this graphic out and it says Vendetta, a hero role, and then they explain what the hero is. So they say Vendetta is a dive-focused DPS hero who takes big risks for big rewards. She needs to really commit when she engages, but if you can make the most of her mobility, speed, and unique defensive mechanic, she becomes a terrifying threat to the squishy backline heroes. That's quite interesting, that. Anyway, we've got the kit now, so we can talk about this in detail. So here it is, the kit. Now this looks bonkers. This looks really, really, really good. Now, if you watched my video from yesterday, we had to sort of speculate on some of the things because we didn't have this detail available. Now we do, so we can go into detail. So let's take a look at the weapon. So the Palatine Fang is a hard, light, greatsword. Combo swings to end with a destructive overhead slash. So as we know from the article we've just been over from the Gamer, you've got the 1 and then the 2 and then the third hit deals critical damage, the overhead smash. So there is burst damage there. That is actually crazy. Let's move on to warding stance. So this must be the alternate fire. Block with your sword, reducing frontal damage and deflecting melee attacks. Now, deflecting melee attacks, this isn't deflecting projectiles like a Genji would, it's only deflecting melee attacks, which I think is really interesting. You could kind of run up to Junker Queen, for example, and deflect as she's trying to chop everyone with her axe. That'd be really cool. Anyway, blocking damage depletes energy. So you can see warding stance has got an energy value, and when you're in it, it's got, I guess, like a shield, right? That's the way it's going to function. It's a hard, light sword or great sword that she's got. So it's got a shield on it, basically. I think that's kind of the way to look at it. So it's going to reduce in energy when it takes damage and then recharge when you're not obviously shielding with it. But it does have another component, which is really cool. And we'll get onto that in a second. So the Soaring Slice, hurl your sword in the direction you are facing and then fly to it. I thought this was the ultimate or connected to the ultimate in some way. It's not. You can just do it anyway. That is bonkers. Crazy levels of movement. It depends what the cooldown is on this and what the distance is and how far you can activate it from the jump towards it, but this just seems crazy. I can't, like, one of the most fun abilities, and I think this is very similar to the Junker Queen knife thing they had back in the April Fools earlier on this year. So you can see how they test stuff in advance and then we'll maybe test it in a live environment, and then eventually it finds its way into a hero kit. Now, next up, we've got Whirlwind Dash. So rush forward into a circular slash. So that dash we've been seeing in all of the media so far, where she sort of rocket propels herself forward. You do that and then go into the AoE Whirlwind Slash. Like, it is one move, so that's kind of cool to know. Now, Projected Edge. This is the kind of like horizontal fire strike. So available when warding stance is active. Consume energy to fire a wide projectile. So this is a way of using your block offensively. So when you've got warding stance active, you can then throw forward energy from the blade. I think that's what's happening, but it's going to deplete the energy in the blade. So if you spam this, again, I don't know if you can spam this or what. Like I said, I've not played the hero, but you can imagine that, you know, instead of having the block available, you've spammed it all for range damage. And you're like, oh God, I don't have no block, and then you die because you've got no defensive abilities. That's really cool. I really like that. I like the duality of the kits. In a lot of ways, I know there's going to be comparison to Magic from Rivals here, but Rivals does have these kind of like layers of abilities which intermingle in sort of special ways. I mean, like, look at Gambit, the most recent hero, the way he can flip out his kit, and it's almost like he's stance dancing, and he can do different things. It's a very, I don't want to say convoluted, but there's a lot going on. Vendetta kind of feels like that, which I think is actually quite good. because, again, it does lead into that whole thing of a high skill ceiling for a hero. Now, the ultimate is Sundering Blade. Cleave through most defenses, dealing a severe damage to enemies in front of you. So we've all seen this, that massive slash hits the ground, blasts everybody in front of you. The passive, now this is funky, because you kind of couldn't see this from the gameplay trailer, but strike enemies to increase movement and attack speed. So that's more, the more time you're doing damage, you're getting quicker, you're doing more damage. Now, again, we need to know where this stacks up to, what's the cap. If it was endless, it'd be bonkers. It won't be endless. So it's pretty cool. But then we're going to take a look at the perks, right? Because some of these, well, one of them is a flavor perk, and I don't think it's ever going to get picked. So, first one, we've got the 2 ones for minor. So these are at level 2. Siphoning Strike. Overhead Strike gains 30% lifesteal. Now, remember, Overhead Strike, I think what they're referring to here is Overhead Slash. They kind of got confused, I guess. But it now has 30% lifesteal. So the third attack from melee gets lifesteal. I think that's what that says. Secondly, you could also get Relentless. Onslaught can stack 3 more times, increasing attack speed by 5% and movement speed by 4% per stack. So it looks like Onslaught only has 1 stack, but this means you can stack it 3 more times. I think probably a lot of people will take Relentless there, although Siphoning Strike might kind of be okay as well. Give you a bit more, I guess, survivability in some ways, but you still need to be involved in doing damage to get the lifesteal. So yeah. Anyway, the major ones, this is where it gets like, we've got a flavor one here. So, Swift Vengeance, last player to land killing blow on becomes a target. Eliminate that target to gain 125 overhealth and reset the cooldown. That is the flavor perk, right? Because you may never kill them. The value you're going to get from this could be massive if you go and kill the person that's just killed you, and then you completely, I don't know, change your fight because you've got that extra 125 overhealth. But it just seems very situational. It's very flavor. This other one, though, you're just going to take this all the time, because look at it. Raging Storm. Whirlwind Dash continues to spin, hitting 3 more times for 40 damage in a wide area. You're going to take that all of the time because you're dashing in and you're going to keep spinning and you're going to spin to win. All right, guys, there you go. So as you can probably tell, I am actually really excited for this. I really want to check her out. So she's playable on the 26th of November. That's her trial period, I believe. Am I getting that right? Sometimes I get that wrong. I think it's the 26th anyway. And yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. I want to play it. I want you guys to let me know what you think about her in the comments below. And yeah, you can follow me on everything, which is @Stylosa, and I'll catch you lovely lot on the next video. See you soon.